As the war against Iran continues to rake Americans across the coals, economically, of course, President Donald Trump decided to dispatch Vice President J.D. Vance to soften the blow with the American people. Just twist the narrative in any way he can to make them think that, no, things are totally going well. I am putting lipstick on a pig, and I think you're dumb enough to believe it. It didn't go well because Americans actually aren't dumb. They know what's going on. So here's the reality. Small businesses with fewer than 250 employees were actually responsible for half of all the new jobs that were created in the past 5 years. So small businesses are really important, integral part of our economic system. And to be honest with you, small businesses are way better than major multinational corporations. The services are usually better, the products are usually better, and they make communities better. But unfortunately, now it turns out that these small businesses are suffering deeply from the rising energy and labor costs associated with the war against Iran. So not only are we spending, that we know of, tens of billions of dollars to fight Israel's war against Iran. Not only are we depleting our military weaponry, including missile interceptors, in an effort to do Israel's bidding, on top of that, we are destroying the global economy, including the national economy. And that's because oil and gas makes the world go round. As much as those concerned with climate change hate to admit it, it's just the truth. And when you have lost access or supply and energy prices go up as a result of that, that has a trickle-down effect on the rest of the economy. So the in-depth analysis that I was referring to was carried out by the Bank of America Institute. And I love these types of reports because they tend to be a lot more accurate. These are the types of reports that help these types of financial institutions make decisions about their businesses. So they want to be as accurate as possible. So let's take a look at this first graph. Let's put this up on screen. So it shows that small business profitability growth actually declined by 1.3% year over year in April. That's the sharpest decline in 2 years. That's not a good sign, and you can see it's a pretty steep decline. Now, Axios notes, and by the way, according to the April National Federation of Independent Businesses, they put out a report. They say that consistent with the falling profitability growth and lower sales, small business optimism remained below the 52-year average. This reflects persistent concerns about labor availability, inflation, and uncertainty about the economic outlook. I don't really know what they're referring to when they talk about labor availability, especially as a ton of people have already gotten fired because of AI. So maybe they're referring to certain types of workers, who knows, in certain fields. But Axios notes that this change in our economic situation, which wasn't that great to begin with, let's be clear, that came after gas prices spiked due to the Iran war, which shut down the Strait of Hormuz, a critical global shipping lane for energy. Kind of shocking that Axios of all places published that. I thought Axios was just, serving as it pertains to the war against Iran or anything having to do with Israel. I thought they were just stenographers for the administration, but I guess not. So the Bank of America report further broke down the cost of gasoline. Let's take a look at this graph. So looking at aggregated small business credit and debit card spending by small businesses, they found that gasoline spending growth surged nearly 31% year over year in April. That is unsustainable, guys. That is unsustainable. So we've been at war with Iran for 2 months already. Small businesses are spending 31% more on gasoline. That's almost 8 times the total card spending growth per small business client. And surprisingly, despite the horrible economic news, more people are optimistic enough to attempt to start small businesses. However, the associated costs are making things much harder for them to do so. But Trump sent out VP Vance to attempt to soften the blow for Americans, to put that lipstick on that big pig, right? Did it work? I'm gonna let you watch the video. You can decide for yourselves.
And then finally, just to give an update on the Iran negotiation, the Iran situation, I just talked to the president very briefly before I came out here. It's actually a very simple proposition here. There are two options, two pathways we can go down when it comes to the Iran situation.
Oh, the Iran situation. Wow, it's a wild way to characterize a war that you started against a country of 92 million people, but never to be outdone. Vance went on to say the following.
The White House is negotiating with Iran in good faith. I think Americans tend to believe that, but what is it about the Iranian side that you personally have seen where you believe that they are negotiating with us in good faith?
Well, first of all, I'd say it's a very complicated country, and it's a country that I wouldn't pretend that I understand even after as deep as I've been involved in this process from the very beginning. It's a great and proud civilization, amazing people. We obviously have a great Iranian American community here in the United States of America.
So we went to war with a country that you don't quite understand. Okay, all right. Well, things didn't get any better after he admitted that he didn't fully understand the country that his administration is currently trying to topple. But when asked about Americans and their perception about the on again, off again negotiations with the Iranians, Vance offered up, honestly, what you could probably hear from Kamala Harris if she was asked the same question. A lot of word salad. Someone get the ranch dressing. Let's take a look.
Just for Americans at home, because this has been going on for several weeks now. I think what people just want to know is, do you personally believe that the Iranians will come to a deal? Because we keep seeing this over and over again where they go back and forth.
So do I personally believe it? The honest answer is, how could I possibly know, right? And you negotiate with people, and sometimes you feel like you're making progress, and sometimes you feel like you're not making progress. What I think is that the Iranians want to make a deal. What I think is that the Iranians recognize that a nuclear weapon is the red line for the United States of America, that they've internalized that. But we're not going to know until we're actually putting pen to paper on signing a deal. We've had a lot of drafts, a lot of pieces of paper going back and forth, but I will not say with confidence that we're going to reach a deal until we're actually signing a negotiated settlement here. And I think that it's ultimately up to the Iranians whether they're willing to meet us, because I think we're certainly doing a good job and we're certainly negotiating in good faith.
Let us dispel the notion that a peace deal would simply need to be reached between the United States and Iran in order to end this war, as if Israel isn't a huge part of this equation. So let's just be honest. The reason why JD Vance provided a word salad answer to that good question, although let me just say, the idea that all Americans are under the assumption that the US is engaging in good faith or negotiating in good faith is laughable. So that part of her question made me chuckle a little bit. But putting that aside, it was a good question. And the reason why he couldn't really give a good answer is because he can't admit what the reality is. This war will not end until Israel wants it to end. Israel doesn't want it to end. In fact, Israel would like to escalate the situation and go back to bombing the hell out of the very Iranian people I'm pretending to love and I'm saying nice things about. So I do agree with Vance on one thing, although I'm a little bit different in my reasoning. It is up to the Iranians whether the war ends. Iran has the cards. They won the war. They control the Strait of Hormuz. They're never going to let that go. So if you'd want the kinetic action to end once and for all, give Israel a reason to not want to continue with the war. Yeah, I said it. They're running low on interceptors. The US doesn't have interceptors to give them. We're running low on interceptors. So if Netanyahu wants more kinetic action, I think Iran should give him more kinetic action until he cries uncle. Otherwise, we're going to be stuck in this quagmire for years to come. And I mean that. The ball is in Iran's court. But what's amazing to me is the insane amount of restraint they have shown in this entire conflict. So we'll see what happens. In the meantime, enjoy your higher gas prices and your crippled economy, because that's what we're getting from a president who ran a campaign on doing something about affordability. What a joke.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.